couple of weeks ago, I did a video on what I considered the top 12 great male singers in rock and pop music. Not surprisingly, I missed a few, and a few people were reminding me of some absolutely great vocalists who should have made the cut, but perhaps didn't. So I just want to kind of share some quick thoughts on some of those that people kind of reminded me that these are worthy of consideration. The first one, which could have easily slipped into the top 12, was probably just outside, unfairly, Roy Orbison. This is a repress of his Crying album. Tremendous voice, great songwriter. This album is closed out by Running Scared, absolutely tremendous. These monument repressings, I bought a couple of them, fairly cheap as well. They sound absolutely magnificent, really, really good. So anyway, Roy Orbison, fantastic singer. Another one who was recommended, this is on Simply Vinyl. Better pull out this plastic if it'll come out. Oh man, yeah, it'll come out. Jeff Buckley. First album, only album while he was alive, Grace. His vocal performance on this album is tremendous. Mojo Pin, which is reminiscent of Led Zeppelin. Grace, Last Goodbye, Lilac Wine, just gorgeous vocal as well. And of course the definitive version of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, open side 2. Great album. Oh yeah, Corpus Christi Carol. Yeah, great vocalist. Gone too soon, of course. It's on the CBS label there. Someone also recommended his dad, who also died young. This album is great, actually, by the way. This is a double live album, Dream Letter live in London. Sounds great. Really, really good album. I don't think he obviously was around longer than Jeff. Released several albums. I think I've got them all, but I don't think he was as varied in his sound and as accomplished a vocalist as Jeff, but a good songwriter, no doubt about it. Yeah, really good album. Check that out if you can get it. Not sure if you can get it on vinyl these days, but certainly worth checking out. Someone else reminded me of Roger Daltrey of The Who. And we got him here. I've got some damp on this album cover. I'm not happy about that. So Roger Daltrey here. Like Roger Daltrey's voice, I also always thought he was a little bit inauthentic. I did a video on Bruce Springsteen a couple of years ago now, and I was talking about the greatest scream in rock and roll, and that's normally attributed to Roger on Won't Get Fooled Again at the end of the final track on this album, although this is a double disc reissue. Won't Get Fooled Again, 8 minutes 31, wonderful track, and he screams at the end of it. And I was comparing Daltrey unfavourably to hang on a second. Oh, it's a triple album, shall I say. Anyway, comparing him unfavourably to Bruce Springsteen's scream at the end of Land of Hope and Dreams from the Live in New York City album. If you get a chance to see that, Land of Hope and Dreams from Live in New York City around 1999, I think it was, that's how you do a rock and roll scream. So like Roger Daltrey, love The Who, never thought that he was such a great singer, but yeah, maybe good for the band. Elton John was voted for, kind of recommended as a great vocalist. Elton had a really good and, of course, very, very distinctive voice. Something happened to him. I think he had an operation in the 1980s, and his voice changed, and he kind of changed the way he was emoting in his songs, and his voice sounded really quite strange for a whole number of years. And his more recent albums, and let's say the last 20 years, he seems to have rediscovered some of that, the feel of his earlier vocals. Great singer. I mean, just what a superstar. This is a fantastic double album, of course. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. Another one that's gone too soon. Great vocalist, George Michael. And this is Faith, of course. His debut solo album after he left Wham. Kind of a pop star, but who transcended the genre. Really is, or was, an amazing vocalist. What do we got here? Oh, that's just a label of postage label. I don't know what that's doing in there. Anyway, Faith, George Michael, great singer. One I mentioned in the video but didn't nominate as one of my top 12 was Robert Plant. I've never been convinced by Robert Plant. Now, what's undeniable is his vocals with Led Zeppelin. Really tremendous. It's perfect for that band. And I'm not going to get into a discussion about how good he was there. But I saw him live in the early 1980s when he'd had the hit single Big Log. Pictures of 11, I think. Pictures at 11 is the album. But I remember seeing him at Newcastle City Hall, and I kind of expected this rock god to come sauntering out on stage. And all I remember was the big hair, the silk shirt, and the ballet slippers that he was wearing. And he had this thing throughout the gig where he was every now and again he would be standing on one leg, a bit like Ian Anderson maybe without the flute. And I thought, what a poser! What an absolute poser! So I've never really committed myself to Robert Plant as one of the great vocalists. It's completely my prejudice. I do like this album with Alison Krauss, of course, Raising Sand, which was released, goodness me, a while ago now, 2007. So there you go. It's a really good album, but there's something about Robert Plant that, I'm told, by the way, he's supposed to be a really nice bloke. So you hear people who've met him, and he's very generous with his time, and he's very generous with his praise and support of other artists. You're a nice guy, but there's something about his singing that is kind of just doesn't seem real, really. I mean, it's completely unfair. Hey ho, have a go at me, Robert Plant fans. Someone else recommended the great Johnny Cash. This, of course, is live at Folsom Prison. Great album. Great album. CBS. There's the inner sleeve with all the adverts on it, with the orange label. There we go. Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. I do like Johnny Cash, but when I think about Johnny Cash's voice, I think of it. I was thinking about this as like a sine wave. Imagine like a sine wave going up and down. And imagine that you just took a knife to the top of the sine wave where it kind of flattens out and it's kind of a little bit jarring. And I've always felt Johnny Cash, a man who undoubtedly have great presence, no doubt often on stage. But there's something about his singing that it was his presence carried that voice rather than the voice alone was kind of the thing that really drew you to him. I mean, I loved his music. I love his music, but I thought his vocals flattened out a little bit too often to my liking. Of course, it's completely forgivable when he gets to this Rick Rubin produced era, and this is number 5, I think. This is American 4. This one. What can you say about this? Well, this is the one that's got Hurt on it. Now, it's also got Bridge Over Troubled Water, I Hung My Head, the Sting song, Personal Jesus, Depeche Mode, just Wichita Line Man. Great album. His voice is cracked to bits on this, but it's just so authentic. It sounds really great. You're right in, you feel as though you're in the room with him. Rick Rubin did a fantastic job at giving Johnny Cash a great send-off in his later years, helping him produce some wonderful music. Not easy listening, but really fantastic. This is just a reminder to my mate Mike, MGK Boston. Check out his channel. I was talking about Frank Sinatra as one of my top 12, and Mike piped up and said his album with Antonio Carlos Jobim, was his favourite, and I couldn't lay my hands on it at the time. But yeah, I've got it. There you go, Mike. I've got it. So there, wonderful album. Listened to it the other day. Cleaned it up on the Humming Guru. Listened to it, and it is real smooth, really good. And Frank Sinatra was kind of recognised as singing with great restraint on that album, and that's undoubtedly the case. It's a great album. A few more, and then we're done. No one recommended this guy, but in terms of his ability to communicate emotion and his ability to communicate tragedy, you don't get much better these days than Nick Cave. This is album Ghosteen, which was released 3 or 4 years ago now. There you go, 2019, 4 years ago. There you go. Works with Warren Ellis, multi-instrumentalist Warren Ellis. Creates some great keyboard sounds and percussion sounds and violin sounds. This album is kind of regarded as a bit of a tribute to Nick's son who died. I think committed suicide a few years ago. But Nick Cave is kind of the modern version of Bob Dylan in my book. His catalogue is vast, but I feel as though even though I've been listening to Nick Cave for years and years now, I still believe I've just scratched the surface. Every time I go into one of his albums, I just think, well, this guy is he's the real deal. He's really, really good. So yeah, Nick Cave, great singer. Something quite different is Ronnie James Dio. This is his album with Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, the second Rainbow album. Rainbow Rising. That's Ronnie in the middle there. Saw them on this tour, on the Rainbow Rising tour. It's about 3 or 4 rows from the front. One of the most exciting gigs I've ever been to, even though I'm not a huge fan. There's no doubt the drama is just tremendous. I didn't follow Ronnie James Dio's, a great vocalist for this, just perfect. But I didn't follow Ronnie James Dio's solo career, so I can't really comment. So I can't quite remember who passed the recommendation on in the comment section of my previous video. But yeah, great singer, great for this band. Also mentioned was Dave Cousins from the Strobes. Never thought Dave Cousins was a great singer, good songwriter though. This is the Strobes, my favourite album. Kind of a weird back cover there, weird, dressed somewhat ghostly there. Hero and Heroine, a kind of a prog pop classic, wonderful album. James Dewar, singer with the trio, led by Robin Trower. Great, deep, rich, soulful voice. Yeah, kind of unheralded really. The album to get, Bridge of Sighs. I just don't have it in the room here at the moment, but Bridge of Sighs is the one to go for. But all of these albums from the mid-70s, early mid-70s are great. This one here, Twice Removed from Yesterday, on the Chrysalis label, 1973. There we go. Yeah, great singer. I think Robin Trower's, Robin Trower earned his kind of apprenticeship as a guitarist for Procol Harum, and then he went solo with this trio. And I think he was kind of overlooked at the time because he played the guitar a little bit like Jimi Hendrix, and kind of a white Jimi Hendrix. And I think he got a little bit of I think the critics were a bit sniffy about him really, with his trio setup, and you can definitely see the Hendrix influence in these albums. But what a great singer, James Dewar. I'm not sure if he's still around. And finally, great recommendations for a singer who I'm assured is was a fantastic live performer. He's fairly recently retired from live performance the last few years, and that is Neil Diamond. Love at the Greek. It's a good album, good live album, double live album. He's written loads of classics. Sweet Caroline, of course, which is a bit of an earworm, being used by by football fans chanting it. The Wonderful Beautiful Noise, Song Sung Blue. Yeah, good album. It's a good album. He's a good singer, a bit too schmaltzy for my liking. But as I say, I'm assured that he's just a fantastic performer. He was just a fantastic performer. Rick Rubin got a hold of his career towards the end as well, and I think there's an album called 12 Songs, which I think the second or third track of the album is called Hell Yeah, which is kind of autobiographical. It's absolutely tremendous. Hell yeah, it's just tremendous. I don't have that one on vinyl, unfortunately. He did Rick Rubin did a couple with Neil Diamond. This is the one that followed up, 2008, Home Before Dark. I have to say, I haven't given this the time I might have done. Excuse me. But yeah, some no doubt great sounding tracks on this as well. Listen to this only about once or twice. But yeah, Neil Diamond, really good. Overlooked him, but never mind. So anyway, those are my kind of the best of the rest, really, in terms of male vocalists. Recommendations from other people, and one or two thoughts like Nick Cave, which I just thought, I should mention Nick Cave. So my top 12 best singers. Wonder what yours would be. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Ta-da.